Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's presentation as part of the Industry Insight webinar series. The topic today is competing in the changing legal services environment, and speaking will be Ron Collins from Amicus Attorney. The Industry Insight webinar series is hosted by the ABA Legal Technology Resource Center. To stay updated on upcoming webinars or view previous videos, visit ambar.org/industryinsight. You can also stay updated on legal technology news through our blog, www.lawtechnologytoday.org. Ron Collins is an experienced attorney, a fellow of the College of Law Practice Management, and an internationally recognized author and speaker on the subject of law and technology. He is also the founder and CEO of Gavel & Gown Software, a company dedicated to providing practice management solutions that work the way lawyers do. The presentation today will be followed by a Q&A. Please enter your questions into the question box in the webinar panel on the right side of your screen. We will address all these questions at the end of the presentation. We are also recording this webinar, and we will be sending the video in a follow-up email in a few days. You can also keep an eye on our blog for the video, which again is www.lawtechnologytoday.org. Thank you all for joining us today, and we'll now begin the webinar.
Thank you, Rose, and thank you everyone for joining me this afternoon. Today we're going to be talking about changing circumstances in the environment in which we practice law. There's so many things going on out there, we're all aware of them. Sometimes it can be just a little bit frightening, though, to pull them all together and take a big picture look at how many different things are changing for legal professionals and how we deliver the value that our clients pay for us for. At the same time, we're going to talk about, all right, we recognize that, we know this is going on. How do we compete? What do we have to do as lawyers and legal professionals to not just compete, but to win in these changing environments? So let's start by talking about some of the many different things that are changing. First and foremost, it's client expectations. Clients aren't content to just sit down in a wood-paneled office and have you speak to them from a leather chair and deliver the result. They want to deal with you as an equal. They want you to be reachable, responsive at any time of day, and they want control. They want to know what's going on whenever they want to know about it, and they don't want to have to pay you for finding out. Indeed, they want everything to be cost effective, and they want it to be modern too. The other thing is, we live in the age of, well, Google searches, Wikipedia, websites like WebMD. The information age has put so much information out there onto the web and within reach of anybody. So clients have information about their legal problems like never before. They can do a lot of their own research. When they come to you, they want you to offer something more. They want value, and they certainly don't want inefficiency. That then gets combined with the problem of client loyalty. It's just so rare these days for an attorney-client relationship to be one that applies no matter what. Clients are cost-conscious, they're service-conscious, and they're prepared to go next door if they can get the same result at a lower price. The corollary of that, of course, is that you have to work harder to keep your clients. You can't take them for granted, and especially with institutional clients, you have to make sure you're delivering a value that doesn't leave them just saying, why don't we take this in-house? Then there's the competition for the work of all those clients, because there's so much marketing going on out there in the web. Everybody's conditioned that when they want to find something, they go either to Google or Bing, they search for themselves, and they find it out. And they're going to start by trying to find out a bit about the problem themselves. So you then have to compete in that environment. And there are whole new services out there that both help you do that and steer the business to those who are prepared to go their way. For instance, totalattorneys.com, really interesting service. I recommend you have a look at it if you're a small firm and you haven't looked at it yet. What their pitch is that they will do the internet advertising so that as would-be clients are looking for a problem, they'll advertise and then put that client in touch with you as if it was you doing it. It's a great marketing venue in the new age. And speaking of that, there is so much marketing that we as legal professionals and small law firms need to be doing. We need websites. If you're not online, you're not findable. Worse, you have no credibility, because the first thing after a friend tells another friend, why don't you go work with Ron Collins? He was a good lawyer, worked for me. The first thing that friend's going to do is go look me up on the web. And if they can't find me, they're going to doubt that I'm a real lawyer. You need a website, and it needs to be one that communicates right from the beginning to your clients what to expect from you. It has to offer value. You can then go further and get paid searches with Google AdWords and Bing AdWords, where when a client in your area searches for given terms, they find you. It sounds sophisticated. It's not that hard. But this next one does get really hard, and that's the billing model. It's, do we bill for our time, or do we bill for the value delivered? This debate's been going on for 30 years and more, but more and more clients are just having trouble with the concept that the longer it takes you to do something, the more that they should pay. In fact, intuitively to them, that's backwards. It should be the reverse. The good news is they will pay for more than your hourly rate if they believe the service you've delivered, the legal outcome, is worth it to them. Therein lies our next problem, because we have to struggle to figure out, how do we set a value on those legal outcomes? What is a given service worth to people, and can we do it in a profitable way for that amount of money? But if we can, we're going to be more profitable too. Then let's talk about some of the challenges around business structures, because there's so much changing out there in terms of what a law firm is. Yes, of course, there's many law firms where there's a sole practitioner or 2 or 3 partners working together, small office, everybody works out of the same office, and apart from the fact that they use computers and email and so on, it works very much like a law office would have 50 years ago. But there are so many other law firms out there. First of all, what might be called distributed or virtual law firms. They're growing rapidly out there. A virtual law firm has either no physical presence or maybe just one small office with a meeting room, but it might have 5, 10, 20 or more attorneys working in that firm, all from their own homes, sharing information together, working together electronically. And there's lots of examples of different firms working like this today. They save so much on overhead and commute time for all the partners involved. Then there are things like offshore law firms, firms which do some of the work here in the United States and some of the work offshore in other countries, essentially outsourcing, although of course legally they're all one entity, and all of these things have already been approved by the relevant bar associations and ethics committees, but a lot of the legal legwork is done in a much less expensive country by lawyers, but less expensive lawyers, and the outcome comes back. What does that mean? It means your hourly rate is under pressure to go down. Then the Walmart law firm. No, that's not just an expression. It is an expression, but not just. This is a concept that law firms, your competition, are opening boutiques, legal services, venues in unusual locations, like literally right inside of Walmart, where in Toronto, Canada, you can go in and get a will, get certain legal services done on the spot in the back corner of Walmart. More and more of that is happening, and indeed I'm going to suggest to you that it's going to be the norm very soon. We're competing with those people. How? It gets worse. Don't worry, it's going to get better, but I'm still on the what are we competing with side of things. There are actual websites out there that deliver what used to be services you could only get from a lawyer right through the web. Small company incorporations, corporate filings, trademarks, things like that. You can do that right through the web today. These websites are yours and my competition. The bigger you go, the more sophisticated that gets, because the concept is out there that why should lawyers own their own firms? Why shouldn't other types of professionals, or indeed the general public in a stock market owned company, be able to own and the vehicles through which legal services are delivered? These have already been adopted in the United Kingdom and in Australia, and the ABA has a commission ongoing right now studying their potential here. It's only a matter of time until this happens, and these, because it will be run like pure businesses, will be serious competition. And there's already serious competition from some of the big consulting firms who more and more are encroaching on the typical things that lawyers do and delivering them in their own way. Wow. That's a lot of competition and a lot of change from the traditional legal environment. All right, how are we going to compete with that? And more than compete, we want to win. As legal professionals, what do? There's a lot of answers. Let's start with the most obvious ones. We've got to be more efficient. You can't simply keep doing things the way we used to because the environment we're competing in is no longer the same. And probably the single best way we can increase our efficiency is to automate our practice. Computers are wonderful things. They provide us with so many different tools for working in so many different ways, and the good news is that they've reached a terrific state in terms of their ability to understand and recognize what goes on in a law firm and to provide a whole series of important types of automation for that. And needless to say, there's one example of that I'm going to bring to your attention, and that's Amicus Attorney, the sponsors for our session this afternoon. Amicus Attorney is full practice management, and it's practice automation in so many different ways. So we're going to have just the quickest look at what that means. So this is a home screen of a lawyer named Heather Gavel who's logged into Amicus, and the first thing you can see is that Amicus is a piece of software that knows what's going on in Heather's practice and is helping her with it. So it's like a legal assistant or a lawyer's friend, telling her what's going on, when her next appointment is. She's got some phone messages to return, time entries to put in, a deadline to meet, and a bunch of other tasks. Ooh, there's a nice one. 40 recent activities without time entries, and conflicts of interest to deal with. So right away you get a snapshot of what's going on, and you can see from the navigation bar down the side that there's a wide range of different things that you can work with, from calendaring to tasks, people management, timesheets, and so on. And a toggle so that we can switch any view between the attorney side and the billing view. Automating your practice too means getting legal specific tools for things like calendaring. As attorneys, we have very sophisticated calendaring needs, far beyond the capabilities of a product like Outlook. So while Outlook is everywhere, and it's so useful in so many ways for things like linking with your smartphone, it simply doesn't understand as simple things like, when you have a task, prepare a cross-examination, what client matter file is it? We as attorneys organize our lives around the files we open for each different client matter. Outlook doesn't understand them. You need a tool, especially for calendaring, that does. Same thing for your appointments. Even, as you can see, there's a do button right here, and wherever you see the do button, and we spoke of practice automation, Amicus Attorney will actually do the task for you. So it will send an email, it will make a phone call, it will draft a document just by clicking do. We spoke of the core building blocks of a law practice, and that is the client matter file. So of course, when you're automating your practice, you're going to have information about every client matter file right at your fingertips. You're also going to have information about the billing side. So there's this list from the attorney side, and when we click on the billing toggle, we see the same list from a billing point of view, and that includes everything like how much unposted time is out there, how much work in progress, fees, expenses do we have, what's out there in accounts receivable, and so on, so that at a glance you're on top of your practice. And of course, in automating your practice, you have tools for working with it like this. Plus, of course, so much information available to you in your client matter files themselves. This creates efficiency in so many ways, not just in terms of you working on it, but in terms of you sharing information with others in your firm. So in this example here, well, you can see there's so many different types of information, from simple notes to custom information, legal research, and events, billable time. Right now what I'm looking at is all the communications, and you can see the initials of people HG, EW, and so on who've had these communications. So you don't have to go forwarding each other's emails. You know when somebody's made a note of a phone call because it's all at your fingertips. That's practice automation. It makes individuals and lawyers more efficient, and as a result, better able to compete. All right, what else can we do to compete? Well, you've got to be able to deliver ultimate service. Remember all the different things we said earlier about how client expectations are changing and loyalty is no longer there. So you have to keep your clients by really giving them fantastic service. Challenge with fantastic service, when they expect information at their time frame, not yours, is your work-life balance. How do you do that? Well, you've got to have mobility. Your practice has to be available to you anywhere, anytime, on any device. Once again, Amicus Attorney, in automating your practice, also makes your practice fully mobile. And it does this in two different ways, because there are actually two different versions of Amicus Attorney. There's Amicus Attorney Premium, which is what's called a desktop or on-premise software. And that means that all the information, the database for your practice, is on your own server. You control it, you secure it, everything is right there in your law firm. The challenge with most such applications is when you're at home, the information is still back there at your law firm. The great thing about Amicus, though, is that it's got what we call Amicus Premium and Amicus Anywhere, which is full browser access, even though it's a desktop application, from anywhere, so that on any browser, Macintosh, PC, tablet, iPad, anywhere, anytime, you can get just about all your practice. So here's a screenshot from it. You can see I'm running a browser, and I've got everything from that same legal calendar, my tasks list, my contacts, phone calls, documents. All of this is right here at my fingertips, and all my client matter files, so I can click on one, open it, get the information I need from my iPad. Here's a sample file that's been opened, and it's open to the documents view, and right away a bell should be going off for you. All of my documents are on my server back at the office. When something comes up, the phone rings, an email gets sent, and I suddenly have to refer to a document, I don't have to get into my car and go back to the office, because with Amicus Premium, all of the documents are at my fingertips. Anywhere in the world, all I need is an iPad. So here in the Widgetco file, here's the different folders of documents I have, and I can open and work with any of these documents whenever I need to. All right, Amicus Attorney is also unique in that Premium is, as I said, a desktop or on-premise solution where you control a database. But Amicus is unique in that it's the only product out there that also offers a full cloud solution. So with cloud, the difference is that you've got nothing to install, nothing to maintain. It's very versatile, very mobile. You can practice law anywhere. You don't have to pay up front. You just pay by the month as you go along. Here is Amicus Cloud. Now you'll see that it looks like the Amicus you saw on premise, and you can see that it's got a full range of practice management capabilities. It's also got that very friendly, helpful practice automation right up front, telling me things like I've got activities without time entries, got 2 files with unbilled, WIP exceeding a certain amount, got a lot of receivables, I better get to work. Amicus Cloud's also unique in that it's got your full email system right built into it. So whether you're using a smartphone, Outlook, or whatever, any email you send or receive will be automatically organized for you in Amicus Cloud, so that you can manage your practice and your email, which is such an important part of how we work these days, right here in the system. You can see a bunch of these emails. The little envelope's closed, the text is bold. I haven't even opened these emails yet, but Amicus has already put them on a client matter file for me, and it knows whether or not I've billed for my time in them. Right, let's look at another view here in Amicus Cloud. We've gone to the billing view, and as you can see, again, I'm operating on the cloud. I could be practicing law just with an iPad. This makes me efficient, it makes me competitive, and I've got all my WIP, accounts receivable, retainers, everything right in a single view right in front of me. I can even see when I last billed somebody and when I perhaps should bill again. There's a variety of other tools in practice management. These are available in either cloud or premium. Things like a time entry assistant to find for you things you forgot to do time for, or a collection assistant to tell you about clients who haven't paid on time. Ways to calculate dates, check conflicts. It's practice automation. It makes you efficient. All right, next step. when you're competing for those clients, you've got to be accessible to them. And that means in the modern day and age, letting them contribute information or get information from you at the time that's convenient to them. So if they come home at midnight and wants to know what's going on in their case, they should be able to find out. And we've talked about work-life balance, you don't want to be answering their phone call at midnight when they have that question, and they don't want to be paying your hourly rate just to get an update. If you can deliver this, your clients will find you responsive, they'll feel in control, they'll feel they're collaborating with you. It'll meet those goals we set earlier about what clients are expecting today. And you can do it in a modern way. So when you go to do online banking, you go to your bank's website and you can see generic information about the bank, what current interest rates or mortgages are, but then you can click a login button and go and just see your bank accounts. That type of business transaction through a secure place on the internet is called typically a portal. Well, if you want to compete in the changing environment of today, you need a client portal so that your clients can interact with you just the way you do with your bank. Here's an example. So Amicus Attorney has a client portal, and we've just logged in as Gary Burwood, a client of the firm, and this firm has called itself Your Law Firm, just to get the point through, and there's Your Law Firm's letterhead or logo. And Gary, as the client, can instantly see any files or documents you've put there for him. Gary has 2 active files with his law firm. We'll just click on that and open one of the files, the Burwood and Wright file, and right away you've got a sense of what Gary can do, what your clients could do if you have a client portal for them. So you put a link on your website, you invite them. So only clients you choose to invite can get into something like this, and only items you choose to share will be made available on it. But once they are, you can do anything from simple new file intake forms, so you collect information efficiently without having to have clerks or your own valuable time to collect it. They can see documents, they can review draft affidavits or other such things. They can add notes or send notes to you, and those notes are so much more secure than email. All this information is sitting back on your server secure, and when a client sends you a note, it's going 256-bit encrypted, so it's totally confidential, unlike email, which frankly is not very confidential at all. So a client portal solves so many client relations problems for you in the new age. Another thing we want to talk about in terms of competing and winning is expectations. It's so important in terms of both delivering great client service and getting your bills paid to set expectations up front. Set your expectations about cost. Set expectations about timing. How long will things take? And of course about outcome. What is the likely outcome? And then, of course, you've got to meet those expectations. Meeting expectations isn't always easy, and we all know, for instance, in terms of something like cost, you could predict that a simple transaction could take a certain amount of time, was likely to cost a certain amount, and then the other side becomes extremely difficult, and they keep sending emails, they keep sending letters, they keep changing their position, and you run up a much bigger bill than your client expected. And if you don't tell a client about that until after the fact, the client is unhappy and may not pay the bill. So when the inevitable happens and some of the expectations you set change, you need to be able to alert your clients that things have changed. How can you do this? Well, again, if you want to be efficient, the best thing is to have an automated system that'll do that for you. So here's an example. These are a couple of screenshots out of Amicus Attorney again. So for example, on this file, the responsible lawyer is Heather Gabel, and there's a simple checkbox, warn responsible lawyer if no time entry for more than 15 days. What does that mean? Well, it means that files can't fall between the cracks. If it's an open billable file, you need to be at least looking at it and probably, putting in 6 minutes worth of work once, well, how often? It depends on your practice area. Once a month, once every 90 days, 120 days, whatever. But if it falls between the cracks and you forget to work on it for 6 months, there could be repercussions. So with one tick on that checkbox, you can set the number of days and no file can fall between the cracks. Here's the next one. Of course, you gave your client a quote. Maybe you said it's going to take about 40 hours of my work. Excuse me. And then that other side started to act up the way we discussed. It runs up. So you can get an alert if it exceeds whatever time frame you want. Or there's other types of alerts related to things like billing. If the work in progress is greater than a certain amount, maybe you should pay it. Or if it's older than a certain amount, and so on. Is it time to bill? Is the AR getting old or exceeding a certain amount? You can check boxes and then have automatic reminders come to you. How do they come to you? Well, in a practice management system like Amicus Attorney, they come to you in a daily report. When you first log in, you get today's practice reminders. So if everything ranging from telling you you've got some old things on your to-do list and overlapping appointments, here's one of those file alerts. I must have set an alert that I didn't want to spend more than 12 hours on the Aladdin purchase matter since a given date. It doesn't have to be over all time. It can be since a given date. Amicus is telling me that, reminding me to look at it. This is an interesting one. One of my clients, perhaps Gary Burwood, has sent me a note or updated a new document to the client portal, and it's letting me know that. I've got some time to record. I've got some missing time entries. I did some phone calls and some emails for which I didn't do time entries. At a snapshot, I get a great overview of my practice, which makes me more competitive. All right, the next thing is, how do we get to that value billing? Well, it's tough. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. What you need to do is you need to analyze your practice. You need to find ways to deliver the value your clients really want, independent of how long it takes you. Doing that is a bit like who's going to bell a cat. How do you figure it out? Who steps forward and does it? What you need is a tool that already has the information about your whole practice. What are you doing? What are you billing? How long is each type of activity taking you? Who in your firm is doing what? How are they contributing to individual matters? What is the total time to deliver a total outcome? Which bills get paid on time? Which bills get paid late? And so on. And over the course of a year or two, if you build up all that information, you can then start to run reports that analyze that and instantly tell you what's making you money and what's not. Practice management, Amicus Attorney, because it already is doing all those things for you and making you more efficient, as almost a byproduct, it's building up for you that information and that analysis, and the reports are built in and you can find it out. Then what do you have to do? Well, you need to reinforce where you're strong, and you need to stop doing what's unprofitable, except with the caveat that if it's good for business development, if it's going to bring in new clients, maybe you'll continue it as a loss leader. But by looking through your practice and analyzing it this way, you can make yourself so much more competitive. The next point, though, is really important. When you're looking at all of that, you know that certain types of transactions are very complex and legally difficult. But your clients, do they know that? Because if they don't, and those types of transactions don't have a lot of value to them, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it. And just because you pride yourself as a lawyer in getting those things accomplished, if they're not really valuable to the clients, probably not worth doing unless you have to. And the trick there is to put yourself in the client's shoes. What do they perceive as value? It's hard for us as attorneys because we're so into our esoteric world. But if you can achieve this, you're really going to get yourself on the road to a more profitable law practice. The bad news here is, because whenever I talk about value billing with people, I see little glints in their eye. Does that mean I can stop tracking my time? And the bad news is no. At least not for the first 3 to 5 years, I would say, and probably never. Why? Because how are you going to determine value? How are you going to determine what price you need to put on certain types of legal outcomes unless you know how long it's really taking you to deliver? Next, competing and winning requires investing. It requires, most importantly, you investing in bringing in new clients. You have to market. We talked about a website. The website isn't just about putting your picture up and saying what a great lawyer you are and what your history of legal accomplishments is. You need to offer some value. Put some freebies up there that bring the clients to your website, let them say, oh, he knows about this. Oh, that was helpful. If I retain this lawyer, they will be helpful. Second, you need to use more automation. Business development tools are available out there which will make it easy and fast for you to do this important rainmaking. Ask your clients to refer business to them. Follow up with them on a regular basis. Remind them of the value that you delivered to them in the past, and ask them if they have any friends. If you don't ask, it's an old adage, if you don't ask, you won't get. So ask them for referrals and you'll get them. And most importantly, keep in touch and let them know that you appreciate their work. Those simple human touches are so important. All right, some tools to do that? Easy. Again, we're back to Amicus Attorney. Here's a contact card for Janet Bailey, one of the clients of Heather Gavel's law firm. And as you can see, it's got an automated last contacted by me. And a little reminder, another one of those check boxes, remind me to keep in touch with this person. And this is automated to the extent that if Janet sends you an email and you get it on your smartphone and reply and say, thanks, Janet, it will get updated right here. Amicus knows what you're doing in your practice, and it keeps this kind of thing up to date. And then it has to be full. In this case, 120 days will go by. If it goes by and that date hasn't been changed, then a to-do item will go on your to-do list to keep in touch with Janet, which is great for business development. We talked about referrals. Here's a contact card for Gary Drysdale, who's a bank manager who sends Heather Gavel's firm a lot of work. Amicus automatically tracks that. You can see all the files that Gary Drysdale has referred to the firm, the date they were referred, and the total fees. Over $50,000 of work referred by Gary. It's time to take him to lunch. This is automated business development, which makes you so much more effective at marketing your practice. And then on a mass basis, you can select all of the clients in your contact index, and you can go to business development and generate letters to your clients, newsletters, whatever you want, updates, you've just hired a new associate, whatever. By automating it like this, it's practically painless, and you get so much more marketing done efficiently. All right, so many challenges in the changing landscape of how legal services are delivered. So many things putting pressure on us, but at the same time, there are new and exciting tools out there that are available. And challenges become opportunities when they're met with the right tools. Thank you very much for listening. It's been my pleasure speaking with you this afternoon.